Due to the COVID-19 health emergency and in order for the Board of Education to conduct its business, this board meeting is being held via video conference and streamed live on YouTube on the district website at www.ebnet.org. In addition, members of the public may provide comment at this meeting through Zoom by entering the URL into the web browser of your computer or mobile device and entering the meeting ID and password. Upon joining the meeting, your participation will be muted to ensure there is no disruption to the business being conducted by the Board of Education. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu.
Here.
Mr. Sismar.
Here.
Mrs. Guas.
Here.
Mr. Hong.
Here.
Mrs. Lax.
Here.
Mrs. Reese.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. Winston.
Here.
President Becker.
Here, we have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published at the Board of Education offices, and written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star-Ledger, the Home News Tribune, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast. Individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Good evening and welcome. This is the first time this board has been in this room since March, and it feels good to be back. Welcome home. Without any further ado, we're all anxious to hear the superintendent's report and hear how things have been going in our district. Dr. Oleski?
Thank you, President Becker, and good evening, everyone. And again, it is almost 7 months to the day since we closed schools in March, so it is good to be back together again. I want to thank the entire East Brunswick community for collaborating with us to ensure we have rapid notifications of close contacts. As I've stated previously in my messaging, our ability to keep our schools safe, our ability to keep our schools open is dependent on keeping our greater school population safe. This is especially important if children in your family unit attend non-public schools. Public schools like ours have different reporting requirements for positive cases of COVID-19. So information sharing may not happen immediately, or in some cases it may not happen at all. If your family is impacted by a close contact or a positive case of COVID-19 in an educational setting outside of East Brunswick, and you have children attending East Brunswick schools, please let us know immediately. Obviously, there are multiple phases scheduled in our complete recovery process, and every week we demonstrate that maintenance of safe teaching and learning environments. That means that our next scheduled opportunity to introduce more students to our face-to-face population is achievable. Our district's ESL department welcomed families of our English language learners K-7 in a Google Meet online the first week of school. Our goal is to ensure that all are knowledgeable about how to help their child access Google Classroom. In addition, parents and guardians learned how to access interactive ebooks to strengthen our students' reading literacy. And Mr. Aaron Prickett from the East Brunswick Public Library shared how to get a library card and to access library resources. The child nutrition team has worked hard to transition the district's traditional school meal service program to the new and improved grab-and-go meal service. All East Brunswick school-age children are eligible to participate. All meals are being dispersed at no cost to students' families until December 31st. Students and parents must pre-order their meals and pick them up on Tuesdays and Fridays at select schools throughout the district. Please visit the Child Nutrition website for additional details. The Child Nutrition team distributed 5,786 meals the first week of school, and that number increased to 20,980 meals by week 2 and is expected to increase going forward. Thank you to the entire child nutrition team for making a positive impact. Currently, there are 44 students attending our remote learning centers, which are operating at 3 schools. Before and after school care options are available. The early morning program and after school kids programs are operating for those students participating in the hybrid program, and there is still space available in both those programs. I want to offer congratulations to our finance department on receiving the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association for the 5th year in a row. So special thanks to Mr. Juliana, to Mr. Crotchfeld, Mrs. Roseming for all their hard work. And just a few reminders. Friday, September 25th, will be a single session for students and staff. There will be no afternoon sessions. I want to make that clear. We are operating on single session days, but there is an afternoon component once students get home. So on the 25th, no afternoon session. And on Monday, September 28th, schools will be closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Valesky. Now we're up to the good of the cause to the public. Members of the public may provide comment at this meeting through Zoom by entering the following URL into your browser of your computer or mobile device and entering the meeting ID and password. In order to be recognized, use the chat feature, select the Zoom meeting host, then enter and send your name to the host. You will be recognized to speak when your name is called, and individuals will be invited to speak in the order in which we have received your request. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters, community interest. Participants will be limited to 3 minutes duration. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the board?
We have no one that has requested to speak.
No one? Seeing none, I close the public portion. Moving on to our Board of Ed agenda. As a reminder, the minutes were pulled from this evening's agenda. So, can I please have a motion for item 1 on the community programs agenda? Moved by Susanna.
Second.
Second by Liwu. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Moving on to curriculum instruction, can I please have a motion
So
for
moved.
item 1?
So moved.
Moved by Todd.
Second. Jeff.
Second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? Susanna?
I just have a question on how we are doing with the enrollments in the high school credit program. So looking at the list, it's really exciting to see how many classes are now offered for college credits. And I know when we first talked about this a few years ago, that kids could work towards an associate's degree. I'm just wondering if anyone has achieved that or has kind of stated plans to achieve that.
We actually have students who have stated they have plans to try to achieve that, Mrs. Chu, but we don't have anybody who has actually achieved it yet. But one of the factors that, along with more course offerings, is the fact that the Middlesex County College reduced the cost per college credit down this year. So it gives a lot more opportunity to families for their students or their children to accrue credits under this program. So we're really excited about this, even in this pandemic environment.
Yeah, I think it's especially important now with the price being down and making college affordable. So, I mean, thank you. I remember being very excited about seeing this, created, and just seeing the number of courses is just really amazing work.
Right.
Yeah, I had asked Dr. Valesky, I did not recall how Middlesex County was conducting its classes, if they were in person or virtual or hybrid. But I wanted to make sure that our kids wouldn't be at any kind of a disadvantage at all, and he assured me they wouldn't be.
Mrs. Becker, I had a conversation with President McCormick from Middlesex County College. About 5% of their classes are being offered in person, and they're critical classes, but most of their classes are in a remote fashion right now. So they're dealing with the same situation that we are.
That's good. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2 on this evening's facility agenda?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Lee Wu, second by Todd. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Moving on to financial services. Can I please have a motion for items 1 through 9?
So moved.
Moved by Jeff?
Todd.
Todd. Jeff Todd. Moved by Todd, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? Okay, this is roll call. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to our human resources agenda, and there is an addendum that Bernie had alerted us to. Can I please have a motion for item number 1 and the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Todd,
Second.
second by Susanna. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to the staff development, can I please have a motion for item 1?
So moved.
Moved by
Mr. Simmons.
Todd?
Call me
Sec-
Victor, Todd, whatever,
sec-
yeah.
Second by Lee Wu.
I thought you said big time.
My hearing is deteriorating by the second. Is there any discussion? Actually, I had a question about this that I had again asked in advance, but I thought you guys might be interested in the answer. I wanted to know if these workshops are going to be conducted fully virtually, so that any staff can take part, and the answer I received was that they are fully virtual for the year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. On our student services agenda, can I please have a motion for items 1 through 3?
So moved.
Moved by Lee Wu,
Second.
second by Todd. Is there any discussion? Okay, I have a question. Actually, Lou, maybe you can answer, or Dr. Valesky. Could you please talk for a minute about the heat acclimation for field hockey and football practices policy that came into effect? I've been reading a lot about it, and I see the explanation on our agenda, but if you could
Absolutely.
tell us what it is,
This is
really.
another way to protect our athletes, so they don't go right out and play with their helmets and their shoulder pads on right away. The intense heat in the summer, this gives them extra time, 2 days to wear just the helmets, 3 days to wear the pads, and then after that 5th day, it allows them to wear everything, and their bodies should have acclimated a little bit better to the heat and to the stress of the helmet and the shoulder pads.
Please remind me, it's been a few years since I had a child playing sports in the district. Isn't there a certain temperature where if the day
Yes.
hits a certain temperature that a practice and/or game would be canceled? So for instance, if we had one of those freak late summer heat waves in September.
We actually monitor each practice and each game to make sure. I believe it's 96 or 90, it's up there. I think it's 96 degrees. but it's in that range, and anything close to that, we'll make sure, even if it's not above that range, we still make sure the athletes are well hydrated, they're in shade, we check them, regularly to make sure that they're feeling okay. And we'll also sometimes even shorten the practices to make sure that they're, well taken care of.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
This is a roll call.
Oh, sorry, this is a roll call. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar.
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lex.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Winston. Yes. President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to transportation services, can I please have a motion for item 1?
So moved.
Moved by Jeff, second by Todd. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Moving on to committee reports, information items, and the good of the cause. Board members, just FYI, we will be starting up with our regular committees, trying to get things back to some kind of a schedule. They may not meet with the frequency that they had been, and a lot of them may still be done through Zoom, depending upon the size. We have some which, like student services or curriculum, which can be 30 or 40 people. We have others, which finance, which could be 5 or 6. So, but those will be starting again. Your administrative chairs will be reaching out to each of you to set dates for committee meetings. So I don't think we have any committee reports, but are there any information items of the good of the cause for the board? Lori?
So last Friday, Dr. Cohen had, or Mayor Cohen had the annual 9/11 tribute. Both Mrs. Goss and myself were there. And what they did this year that was different was, this is the first full class of high school students that were not born before 9/11. So he held an essay contest where the kids could write essays about their views on it, what it's taught the world, what their peers have thought about it, and what they think will be different going forward. And there were 4 girls that read their essays. I believe there were supposed to be 8. My daughter was one of them, so I was a very proud mom moment. But these kids, it was pretty amazing. These 4 girls wrote, and one of the girls actually, it was really emotional because her father was there and worked that day, and so she had grown up in a world where she knew his experience the day. But the writing and the insights was just spectacular, and we weren't. It wasn't something where we see because we're not in school or we're not all together. But I just wanted to make sure that I mention it to you guys. It's on, I believe, News EB TV covered it. And it was just something, and I believe that they actually printed the young woman whose father was in the Trade Center. They printed her article. But if you have a chance, just take a look at these because they were so well written and so well thought out. And, it's a strange thing. We're going through the pandemic and you realize this is something that our country really came together, 19 years ago. And it gives you hope for the future generation. And I think we're seeing certain similarities in the way that people are coming together now in the wake of the pandemic. So I just thought it should be mentioned. Thank you to Mayor Cohen for putting that together. It was really a nice event.
Thank you, Lori. Any other information items of the good of the cause of the board? Liwu?
Yeah, I went to the EBEF September meeting. So by the report, they sponsored 93 remote learning-related grants. It's a lot of money. They are facing some kind of a challenge because their donations, their financial resources is negative impact by this pandemic, but they are still trying very hard to sponsor the grant application. So I'm really proud of that, to say that East Brunswick has this wonderful EBEF organization. I give my personal thanks to Jack Leffy, and he and his team are doing really, really great job.
Thank you, Liwu. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we do have a need for a closed session. Whereas these subjects are within the exceptions to the Open Public Meeting Act and are permitted to be discussed in closed session, whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss the following matters, those items listed in tonight's agenda, can I please have a motion for us to go into closed session? The length of closed session is estimated to be 1 hour, after which a public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will not be taken.
So moved.
Mrs. Becker, I believe our student rep is here.
Hi, I was just about to.
I'm sorry?
I believe our student rep is here via Zoom.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that he was coming
Yes.
tonight. Hi, how are you?
I wasn't sure whether I should get in now because I was
Ju- ju-
online.
Just one moment, Matt, we're in the middle of a motion. What do we do?
So let's do, the motion to go to closed session, I think we can just withdraw that for right now.
Okay.
Let the student rep speak, and then what we'll do is
I
we'll go
withdraw
back.
the motion for closed session, and we're going to have our student rep speak. I'm
I
turn off my
apologize for the
microphone.
inconvenience. I wasn't sure whether it was appropriate for me to jump in now, considering I was online and you were in person. But it is a pleasure once again to address you guys. It's the beginning of the school year, so now I think it's a little bit more appropriate to provide the student perspective. And I'll quickly get into it. First thing is, as an online student, I've noticed the improvements in online schooling have been noticeable, especially in comparison to the latter half of last year, where teachers were kind of forced to make that sudden adaptation. And I think this is largely attributed to the fact that, to the widespread usage of Microsoft Teams and, I guess the increased familiarity with Canvas. Hybrid-wise, it's a little bit more interesting considering that you're in school, which is great, and you get to see your teachers, which is also great. But it's a little weird when the teacher is mainly speaking to the laptop and not addressing the class, and when there's only like 2 to 3 other students in the class, and sometimes it's just you in the class, depending on the class size. But this was the expectations for hybrid that all the students knew that they were getting into when they signed up for it. So that's the benefit of hybrid. Quickly, I also wanted to mention that East Brunswick has been one of the sole towns that I provided, that has acted as a testing center for standardized testing in both the SAT and the ACT. And this is really good for students who feel the need to get in that last and final standardized testing to help their college applications, and also rising juniors who want to try and get it over with early. Since East Brunswick, EBHS specifically was the only testing center in like the nearby area, a lot of students from other towns kind of conglomerated in East Brunswick, and it was great that EBHS was successfully able to be that good testing center. And yeah, that's about it. Just a quick student report. Thank you guys for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Okay. How about that closed session? Can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Moved by Todd. Second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Good night. Thank you for joining us.